What if I told you that memorizing more English vocabulary is actually the exact thing causing you to freeze up, stutter, and like completely blank out in real everyday conversations?
It sounds completely counterintuitive, doesn't it? I mean, we're conditioned to believe that the key to fluency is really just, a bigger mental dictionary.
Exactly. But let's be real for a second. Imagine your brain is a high-speed train conductor, right? You're heading into a conversation. You've got the vocabulary loaded perfectly into the cargo cars.
Right. You're totally prepared.
Yeah, you've got your destination clearly in sight. You know exactly what you want to communicate. But then, the moment a naval speaker asks you a simple question about what you did this weekend,
Hmm.
the conductor just panics, pulls the emergency brake, sparks fly everywhere, and you just absolutely freeze.
Oh, it's the worst feeling.
It really is.
Yeah.
You end up staring at the other person, and instead of that smooth, sophisticated sentence you planned, you just throw words out and hope they stick. You hear yourself saying something completely broken like, did you busy yesterday?
Yeah.
And even as it leaves your mouth, you're thinking, wait, did I just say that? Should it be were? Should it be was?
And that specific feeling, that hesitation, that sudden drop in your stomach, it completely it kills your speaking confidence. I mean, it makes incredibly smart, capable people want to avoid speaking altogether.
Oh, absolutely. I've seen it so many times.
I've worked with high-level executives, people who negotiate million-dollar deals in their native language, who turn bright red in a boardroom because they tripped over did and were. But what's fascinating here, and, well, what we are going to unpack today, is that the problem isn't your vocabulary.
Right.
It's not your memory. And it is certainly not your intelligence.
Okay, I am so glad you brought up the boardroom executive
Yeah.
because that proves this isn't just like a beginner's issue. These are fossilized errors that haunt even advanced speakers. So if it's not my memory and it's not my vocabulary, why do we all feel like we are constantly tripping over these tiny three-letter structural words when we try to talk about the past?
Well, it happens because of how the adult brain processes a second language, specifically regarding something linguists call L1 interference, which is just the interference of your first language.
Okay, makes sense.
Most of us were handed these massive, complicated grammar charts in middle school, right? We were told to memorize rules, exceptions to the rules, and irregular verbs until our eyes crossed. We were taught to treat spoken English like a math test.
Which is exhausting.
Completely exhausting. But natural speech doesn't happen in the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain that does math. Natural speech happens in the motor cortex and the basal ganglia. It's a reflex.
It's muscle memory.
Exactly. So today, our mission is to completely bypass those old charts. We're going to stop memorizing and start using a very simple visual neurological logic to permanently unwire this trap. We're going to fix the confusion between did, was, and were for real conversations.
I love that. And we're going to do it by understanding the strange hidden history of why English works this way, right?
Something.
I am so incredibly ready for this because if you are listening to us right now, you deserve to speak without that agonizing little voice of doubt in your head, second-guessing every syllable. So here is the roadmap for our journey in this deep dive.
We're covering a lot of ground today.
We really are. We are going fundamentally into the psychology of fluency. We're going to uncover what we call the action path versus the description path. We're going to introduce you to a historical linguistic quirk that we like to call the grammar thief.
That's my favorite part.
It's such a good visual. We'll be doing some mental modeling, looking at how the brain treats biological states versus physical actions, and we're going to give you some specific biomechanical pronunciation coaching.
Super practical stuff.
Yeah. And finally, we are going to lay out a comprehensive 7-day speaking challenge to literally rebuild your muscle memory.
It's going to be a highly practical session. But before we get into the exact mechanisms of these words, we have to look at the root of the confusion. We need to understand why that specific mistake, saying something like, did you busy yesterday, is so dangerously common across almost every native language background.
Right, because once you understand the why, you can stop blaming your own brain for making a highly logical assumption.
Exactly.
Because my brain is trying to be helpful. Why does "did you busy" feel so natural to so many learners? I mean, it feels like it should be right.
It feels natural because of direct mental translation, which is essentially your brain trying to optimize its processing speed. In a vast majority of languages around the world, Spanish, Mandarin, French, Hindi, the past tense is handled elegantly.
Right, they make it easy.
They do. You usually just add one specific time marker word, or you change the ending of a verb, regardless of whether you are talking about an action you did or a state of being you experienced. It's one unified system.
Just one big bucket for the past tense.
Exactly, one bucket. So your brain, trying to be highly efficient, attempts to apply your native language's unified logic to English. You think, okay, I'm talking about the past. I know did is a word that signals the past. I want to ask my colleague about being busy. Therefore, did you busy?
It makes total sense.
It is a perfectly logical, highly efficient assumption.
It's logical, but it completely breaks the English machine. It's funny, I see this clash happen most often when people are just trying to navigate basic social rituals. A lot of learners get stuck here because they don't realize that English doesn't just have one big happy bucket for the past tense.
No, it certainly does not.
English actually forces you to walk down one of two completely separate, walled-off paths when you talk about the past.
Exactly. This is the core structural concept we need to build everything else on today. In English, talking about the past requires you to consciously choose between path A or path B.
Okay, path A and path B.
Right. Path A is the action path. Path B is the description path. The fundamental truth of English is that it strictly, ruthlessly separates doing things from being things.
Okay, let me give you a visceral way to visualize this.
Yeah.
Imagine you are in your kitchen sorting your recycling. You have two bins. One bin is bright blue, and it's exclusively for paper. The other bin is bright green, and it is strictly for glass.
I like where this is going.
If you have an old newspaper, it goes in the paper bin. If you have an empty pasta jar, it goes in the glass bin. If you try to shove the glass jar into the paper bin, it shatters, it tears the paper, the recycling center rejects it, and it's a total mess.
Yeah.
You fundamentally cannot mix them.
That environmental design analogy is perfect for language processing. The paths are exactly like those bins. The action path is your paper bin. The description path is your glass bin. They do not, and biologically, within the English language structure, cannot mix.
Right.
You cannot take a physical action and throw it into the description bin, and you cannot take a description like the word busy or happy or tired and throw it into the action bin.
So when that incredibly smart executive in the boardroom says, "Did you busy yesterday?" they are holding a heavy glass jar, the description word busy, and they are desperately trying to shove it into the paper bin, which is ruled entirely by the word did.
Yes.
It was a grammatical recycling disaster.
It's a disaster. And what's interesting is what happens neurologically to the native speaker listening to it, because native speakers don't usually know the grammar rules.
Oh, not at all.
If you ask them why it's wrong, they'll just shrug and say, it just sounds weird. But their auditory parser, the part of the brain predicting what word comes next, literally experiences a clash. It's like hearing a wrong note in a song you know perfectly.
Oh, that jarring feeling.
Exactly. It halts the flow of comprehension for a split second while they try to decode what you meant.
Okay, so now that we know we have these two completely separate bins, these two distinct paths, we need to understand the rules of the road for each one. Let's
Yeah.
start with path A, the action bin. Let's really look at what goes in here.
Path A is purely for actions, movement, physical or mental activity. We are talking about dynamic verbs.
Like things you actively do.
Exactly. Words like run, eat, play, go, call, sleep, analyze, calculate. If it involves your body or your mind actively executing a process, it belongs firmly on Path A. And rule number 1 for Path A is foundational. Did is the absolute boss of actions in the past.
Did is the boss. But wait, why did? I mean, why doesn't English just let us use the verb itself? Like in other languages, you just flip the verb to a question. Why do we need this extra tiny word did hovering around?
That is a phenomenal question, and answering it actually removes a lot of the frustration learners feel. We have to look at a linguistic phenomenon called do support. It is incredibly rare globally. It mostly only exists in English and some Celtic languages like Welsh.
Wait, really? So English is actually the weird one here.
Oh, English is incredibly weird. 1,000 years ago, in Old English, verbs had lots of complicated endings, much like modern Spanish or Russian. You knew exactly who was doing what and when just by the ending of the word. But over centuries, English became simplified. We lost all those rich endings. But that created a structural problem. How do we easily ask a question or make a negative statement without those endings?
Huh. I never thought about that.
Right. The language had to invent a tool. It recruited the verb to do and turned it into a dummy verb.
Yeah.
An empty structural placeholder whose only job is to carry the tense. It acts as a flag. When you hear did, it's just the English language waving a flag saying, hey, everything that follows is happening in the past.
Wow. That completely changes how I view it. It's not a rule sent to torture us. It's a structural necessity because English lost its verb endings. It's a placeholder. Okay, so whenever I want to ask a question about an action in the past, did is the required tool. It is the key that unlocks the question.
Exactly.
Did you eat breakfast? Did you call the client? Did you read the report?
You've got it. But here is where the application breaks down for most people. Asking the question isn't usually where learners freeze up the most. It's trying to build the rest of the sentence. And this brings us to one of the most powerful, memorable mental models for mastering Path A.
Yes. The magic rule of the grammar thief. If you only remember one visual from this entire deep dive, let it be this one.
When did enters a question, it doesn't just sit there politely. It acts like a thief. It completely ruthlessly steals the past tense away from the main verb in your sentence.
I love this imagery. Imagine did wearing a little black mask sneaking into your sentence through the window. Let's say you want to ask your friend about going to the grocery store. You've studied hard. You know the past tense of the verb go is went.
Right, you're prepared.
Your brain is very proud of knowing went, so your brain tries to build the sentence, did went to the store. But the thief is already there.
Precisely. Did is already standing at the front of the sentence, proudly displaying the past tense. It's already doing the heavy lifting. Because did is already in the past, it steals the past tense from went. It robs it completely.
Wow.
And what is left behind after a robbery? Just the bare minimum, the simple, original base form of the verb, go. So the only correct, natural way to ask is, did you go? Absolutely not. Did you went?
So the thief took the past tense, so the main verb just gets to sit back, relax, and stay in its simplest form. Did you play? Not did you play. Did you watch? Not did you watch.
Exactly. And if you truly internalize this, it is a massive cognitive relief. It means when you are asking a question on Path A, you do not need to stress about irregular past tense verbs.
Which is a huge relief for so many people.
Huge. You don't need to freeze up trying to remember if the passive buy is bought or buyed. You just deploy the thief. Did you buy? It drastically reduces the cognitive load on your brain, making your speaking speed so much faster.
It's a total shortcut. You just use the easiest form of the word.
Huh.
Okay, so let's flip it to the other side of the conversation. I've asked the question, did you watch the presentation? How should the person answer? Because I hear a lot of learners, in their effort to be polite and correct, try to repeat the whole entire sentence back.
Yes, I hear that all the time.
They'll nod very seriously and say, yes, I watched the presentation. And honestly, it sounds a bit robotic, like they're reading from an audiolingual textbook from 1985.
It does. It sounds instructional, not conversational. And this is a huge gap between classroom English and real-world fluency. Native speakers are profoundly lazy. We are highly efficient.
So true.
If someone asks, did you watch the movie? The most natural, authentic-sounding answer is simply, yes, I did. Or if it's negative, no, I didn't.
Yes, I did. No, I didn't. Just those tiny 3 words.
That's all you need. You do not need to prove to the native speaker that you know the past tense of the verb by repeating it back to them. The did in your short answer already confirms everything. It acts as a proxy.
It does the work for you.
Exactly. It says, yes, I performed the action you just asked me about, and I did it in the past. It is perfectly sufficient, highly polite, and it makes you sound incredibly fluent.
Okay, let's lock this into muscle memory right now. If you are listening to this in your car, or if you're doing the dishes, don't just think the answer. I want you to physically whisper it or say it out loud. Feel how your mouth wants to form the words. I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to respond immediately with either, yes, I did, or no, I didn't. Ready?
Give them a good one.
Did you drink coffee this morning?
Good.
Notice how your brain might have instinctively wanted to say, I drinked, or I drank. But all you need is the echo. Let's try another one. Did you check your email before getting out of bed?
I know I did.
Me too. But notice how incredibly clean that feels. You aren't tangling yourself up in long, complex sentence structures. You are just choosing path A and responding with maximum efficiency.
And this brings us smoothly to rule number 2 for Path A. We've mastered the question, we've mastered the short answer. But what about a full negative statement? This is where we meet the negative thief.
Ah, yes. The thief has an accomplice.
Indeed. We've talked about asking questions with did, but what if you want to explicitly state that an action did not occur? We use didn't, which is, of course, the contraction, the short spoken form of did not.
And just like did in a question, didn't is also a grammar thief, right? It plays by the exact same rules.
Precisely the same rules. It steals the past tense from the main verb instantly. So if you want to tell a story and say you did not consume any food, you say I didn't eat. You absolutely do not say I didn't eat.
I didn't eat creates a double past tense. It's redundant.
Exactly.
A thief already packed the past tense into didn't, so ate is forced to turn back into its simple base form, eat. I didn't eat, I didn't see, I didn't know.
If we connect this back to that fear of speaking we discussed earlier, this is another monumental win for the learner's confidence. Often, learners stutter and stall because they think they need instantly perfect recall of every single irregular verb to tell a story about the past.
Right. I've seen it. People literally stop mid-sentence because they panic. They can't remember the past tense of catch or teach or bring, so they just go silent.
Exactly. But what this logical rule means in real life is when you are speaking in the negative, you do not need to panic about irregular verbs at all. You bypass the problem completely.
Oh, that's so true.
You just use the simple, raw form of the verb. You don't need to remember that the past of go is went if you didn't do it. You just say, I didn't go out. You don't need to remember slept. You just say, I didn't sleep well. It's a massive cognitive loophole that you can use to your advantage.
That is so freeing. You just slap didn't right in front of the easiest, most basic form of the word. I didn't understand. I didn't finish. I didn't want to. Let's do another quick shadowing exercise. I'm going to say a negative sentence, and I want you, listening, to repeat it out loud right after me. Focus on keeping that main verb perfectly, beautifully simple.
Go for it.
I didn't see him. We didn't buy it. They didn't call me. Fantastic. You're walking confidently down path A. You've got the paper bin sorted. But actions don't happen in a vacuum, do they?
No, they don't.
They happen in a very specific temporal setting. If I just walk up to you at a party and say, I didn't eat, your immediate thought is probably going to be, okay, when? Today? Yesterday? Last week? Why are you telling me this?
Context is everything in communication. Knowing when an action happened makes your spoken English flow naturally, and more importantly, it helps the listener build a mental timeline of your story. This is where we need to set the scene using time words.
Time markers. I like to think of these as little heavy anchors we drop into our sentences to tell the listener exactly where we are in the calendar. Words like yesterday, last night, last week, and ago.
Let's start with yesterday. It is arguably the most common time marker. Did you work yesterday? I didn't go out yesterday. The meaning is straightforward, but this is exactly where a very common and honestly quite fascinating psychological trap appears for learners.
Oh, the last yesterday trap. I hear this all the time, even from people who have lived in English-speaking countries for years.
Yes, it's a classic example of semantic hypercorrection. Learners learn the word yesterday. Great. Then they learn that English uses the word last to signal things in the past, like last week, last month, last year. Their brain, which is a pattern recognition machine, tries to be helpful.
I'm trying so hard to get it right.
It combines the two rules to be extra, super clear that they mean the past, so they say last yesterday.
I didn't sleep well last yesterday. It sounds almost poetic, but it fundamentally breaks the rule of redundancy in English.
It is entirely redundant. Yesterday already inherently means the day before today. You don't need to add last to it. It's just yesterday.
Yeah.
Or if you were talking specifically about the evening hours of yesterday, it's just last night. Never last yesterday night. Or yesterday night, just last night. The language prefers economy.
And then we have ago, which I absolutely love because it acts like a little mental time machine. It measures backward from right this very second. 2 days ago, 5 minutes ago, 10 years ago. Did you call me 10 minutes ago?
Now, here's a crucial fluency tip regarding the prosody, the rhythm and music of these time words. When you are speaking, where you place these words in your sentence can profoundly affect how relaxed and natural you sound. The most common and neurologically the easiest place to put these time words is right at the very end of your sentence.
So instead of starting with it, you end with it. Did you see the movie last night?
Exactly. Dropping that time word at the very end acts as a comfortable cadence drop. It sets the scene clearly for the listener, but more importantly for you, the speaker. It gives your sentence a solid, predictable finish.
It's like landing the plane.
Yes. It gives your vocal cords a split second to drop in pitch. It gives you a moment to take a breath, and it signals to the other person that you are done talking and it is their turn. It creates that natural conversational volley.
It's like putting a period at the end of your spoken sentence. Let's try that rhythm. I'll say the core sentence, and if you're listening, I want you to naturally add the time word yesterday at the end. Feel the pitch of your voice drop slightly as you say it. Did you work yesterday? I didn't see him yesterday.
That sounds so much more grounded.
It just grounds the whole thought perfectly.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've comprehensively mastered the action bin. We know the rules of path A, the did placeholder, the grammar thief, the time anchors. Now it is time to do something very difficult. We have to switch our brains completely over to the other side.
We need to mentally cross the street. We are leaving the dynamic world of path A, and we are stepping onto path B, description mode.
I'm going to say it officially so we all visualize it. Description mode on N. No actions allowed.
Yeah.
We are padlocking the paper bin. We are only exclusively looking at the glass bin now.
This path is strictly reserved for 3 distinct categories: feelings, locations, and identities or jobs. If you are describing an internal state of how you felt, like happy, tired, frustrated, overwhelmed, or a physical coordinate of where you were at the park, in the office, at home, or an identity of what someone was, a doctor, a student, a friend, if you are doing any of that, you are firmly on path B.
And because we are on a completely different path with different materials, our tools must change.
Yeah.
The boss did is absolutely banned here. Did hates descriptions.
It really does.
If you try to bring did onto path B, you cause that neurological crash in the listener's brain. We need new tools. We need the be verbs.
Specifically, we need the past tense forms of the be verb, which are was and were. This is rule number 3. Switch to description mode by deploying was or were.
Okay, let's unpack the core logic here, because choosing between was and were can sometimes feel like a stressful coin flip for learners in the heat of a conversation. But earlier you mentioned that it's really just simple math.
It is entirely mathematical. It is simple arithmetic based on the subject of your sentence, who or what you are talking about. Let's break down the equation. If you are talking about one single solitary person, place, or thing singular, the answer is almost always was.
Singular equals was. One equals was.
Yes. I, he, she, it. I was tired. He was late. She was a brilliant doctor. It was freezing cold. One subject, you use was. Now, if you were talking about more than one person or thing plural, the answer shifts to were.
Plural equals were. 2 or more equals were.
Exactly. We were excited about the project. They were at the university. The boxes were too heavy. More than one subject, you use were.
But wait, I know there is an exception here. And it's a trap that catches so many people, even advanced speakers, because it feels mathematically wrong.
Yes. There is an exception, and it's a critical one. It's the pronoun you.
You, the ultimate troublemaker in the English language.
The English language decided to leave us a very strange historical artifact here. The rule you must memorize is this. The word you always, 100% of the time, takes were.
No matter what.
No matter what. It does not matter if you are giving a speech to a stadium full of 80,000 people or if you are looking deeply into the eyes of one single person sitting right across the table from you. You always, inescapably, pairs with were.
But why? I'm talking to one person. Singular should be was. Why does you get to break the math?
It's actually a fascinating piece of social history. Hundreds of years ago, English did have a singular and plural. Thou was singular and you, or ye, was plural.
Oh, like Shakespeare. Thou art. Exactly. But over time, people started using the plural you to address a single person as a sign of extreme respect, like the royal we or the formal vous in French. Eventually, everyone wanted to be polite to everyone else, so thou completely died out and you took over for everything.
That makes so much sense.
But you kept its plural verb. So when you say you were, you are technically using a centuries-old polite plural form, even for one person.
Wow. That completely changes how I see it. It's not a random rule to make us suffer. It's a ghost of old English politeness. But the modern reality is, if I'm looking right at you, just one person, I still say, were you hungry? I absolutely never, under any circumstances, say, was you hungry?
Yeah.
Or you was hungry.
Never. You was is grammatically incorrect in standard English. While you might hear it in certain regional dialects or in pop music, in a professional or standard conversational setting, it is an instant red flag. It signals that the speaker is fundamentally struggling with the core structure. It must always be you were you at the gym, were you tired, you were right all along.
Let me give you a visual to lock this in. Think of the words you and were as best friends who refuse to be separated. They're super glued together on path B. You were. If you were doing chores right now, say it with me out loud to build the muscle. You were. Were you?
Good. Now, just like we did with path A and the negative thief, we need to know how to create negative sentences on path B. How do we clearly state that a description was not true in the past?
This one feels a bit more intuitive. We just add not. So was not shrinks down into the contraction wasn't. I wasn't very nice. She wasn't there. That one physically feels pretty easy to say.
It is. Wasn't flows quite naturally over the tongue. But the plural negative were not becoming the contraction weren't. This requires a very specific pronunciation clinic. This is a word that physically, biomechanically trips up a huge percentage of non-native speakers.
Yes. Weren't. Because when you look at it spelled out W-E-R-E-N''T, it looks like it should be two distinct syllables. Weren't.
Exactly. But if you articulate it as weren't, it sounds extremely unnatural, and it completely disrupts the rhythmic flow of your sentence. The key to sounding native and fluent here is to pronounce weren't very fast, as one single, tight-clipped syllable.
One syllable. Okay, how do we physically do that with our mouths? Because it feels like a lot of consonants packed together.
It's all about tongue placement on the alveolar ridge, that little bump right behind your top teeth. Try this. Start with the word were, and instead of opening your mouth again for the N, just immediately snap your tongue up to that ridge and bite down quickly on the N and T together.
Just bite down on it.
Yes. Do not let any air escape to make a second vowel sound. Just weren't. W-E-R-N-T. Weren't.
Weren't. Like we weren't at home. Not we were at home.
Exactly. Faster, tighter, cut off the air supply sooner. Let's drill this. Wherever you are, shadow us out loud right now. Focus entirely on that one sharp syllable. They weren't happy, we weren't late, you weren't listening.
Hey, I was definitely listening to you.
It's a structural example. But do you notice how much cleaner and more professional that sounds when it's one quick syllable?
It makes a night and day difference in fluency. And notice something else very important here. In all of those negative sentences, wasn't ready, weren't happy, what specific word is completely missing from the equation?
The thief. Didn't is nowhere to be found.
Exactly. Because we are solidly on path B.
Yeah.
No actions allowed, which means no did, no didn't. So saying I didn't busy or I didn't happy is crossing the paths. It's taking the P from path A and letting him loose in the description bin.
Which is chaos.
It's a complete structural disaster. It must be I wasn't busy, I wasn't happy.
When you lay it out like this, it feels very logical, doesn't it? Path B is just your subject plus the be verb. No thieves, no stolen past tenses, no complicated placeholders, just direct, elegant descriptions.
Okay, so we've walked path A successfully. We've walked path B successfully. But here's where it gets really interesting and honestly a bit chaotic. What happens when a speaker gets nervous and accidentally steps on both paths at the exact same time?
That brings us to rule number 4, the golden rule. The absolute unbreakable law of speaking about the past in standard English. You must never, under any circumstances, mix did and wasser in the same sentence.
Never. We've talked about them being on separate paths and separate cycling bins, but to truly understand why this is the golden rule, you have to visualize them not just as different categories, but as absolute mortal enemies.
They are incompatible linguistic forces, matter and antimatter.
When you try to put them together, when you panic and say something like, did you was at the store or were you go to the park? You're creating an illegal grammar clash. It's a literal explosion in the syntax of the sentence.
This raises an important question. Why is it so bad? Why does did you was hurt a native speaker's ears so intensely?
Because you have two alpha past tense bosses fighting for control of the same sentence.
Yeah.
Did is already a past tense boss. Was is already a past tense boss. You put them in the same sentence and they start battling. The listener's brain is spinning. Who is in charge? Is this an action or a description?
The sentence is tearing itself apart from the inside.
Exactly.
As we like to say, there can only be one captain per ship. You must consciously choose one path and commit to it. Path A, action, use did. Path B, description, use was or were.
Wait, hold on. I need to push back on this for a second. I get the separation of action and description. But what if the description is the action? What if I say, I was running? Was is right there, but running is very clearly a physical action. Doesn't that completely break your golden rule of them being mortal enemies?
That is a brilliant observation, and it's exactly where intermediate learners get tangled up. You're talking about the past continuous tense, I was running. But here is the secret. It doesn't break the rule, it actually proves it.
How so?
When you add a did to an action verb like run, making it running, it actually stops behaving like a pure action verb and starts behaving like an adjective. It becomes a state of being. You are describing the state of being in the middle of a run.
Oh, so running becomes a description of my state at that moment.
Exactly. You are describing your status, therefore you are on path B. So you use was. I was running. You would never say I did running. The mortal enemies rule remains perfectly intact. Did and was still never mix.
That is a phenomenal clarification. It's all about whether it's a completed action, which is path A, or ongoing state, path B.
Exactly.
To solidify this enemy clash concept, let's look at how this actually happens in real life. Because it's rarely as simple as just reciting a single sentence in a quiet room. It usually happens when someone is highly stressed, trying to string multiple thoughts together in a fast-paced environment. Let's do a mini role play to demonstrate this.
Okay, I'm ready.
We'll set the context. It's Monday morning at the corporate office, and you are trying to talk to a colleague about a very high-stakes, stressful Friday.
Perfect scenario. Let's hear it.
Okay, I'll play the learner. I'm nervous. I want to vent about my day. But the L1 interference is kicking in, and I'm jumbling my paths. So I walk up to your desk, and I say, "Hey, did you busy yesterday?" Because the boss was crazy. I didn't happy with that afternoon meeting. You were surprised by what he said.
Okay, time out. Let's pause right there. As a linguistic coach, if I look under the hood of that paragraph, I can hear exactly what is happening. The speaker's vocabulary is actually excellent.
Right, the words are all there.
They have all the right semantic pieces: busy, happy, meeting, surprised. But the structural architecture, the paths, are completely tangled. They've shoved heavy glass descriptions into the paper action bin and actions into the descriptions bin.
Right. I said, did you busy and didn't happy, and then the ultimate clash, did you were surprised.
Exactly. So here is our spoken coaching moment. We need to untangle the wires. Try saying that again, but this time, slow your brain down by a fraction of a second. Separate the enemies. When you want to describe a feeling or a state like being busy or happy, force yourself onto path B. Use was or were.
Okay, let me try the upgrade. Deep breath. Consciously choosing my paths before I open my mouth, I walk up to your desk. "Hey, were you busy yesterday?" "Because the boss was crazy. I wasn't happy with that afternoon meeting. Were you surprised by what he said?"
Excellent. Much, much better. Notice how the natural prosody and rhythm immediately return when you separate the enemies. Were you busy? I wasn't happy. Were you surprised?
It feels so much smoother.
By consciously pre-selecting the correct path before you start the sentence, you instantly sound more authoritative, confident, and coherent. You aren't forcing the listener's brain to fight a grammar clash.
It actually feels visibly different in the mouth, too. It doesn't feel like I'm chewing on gravel.
Yeah.
But I know that to truly cement this logic, so that we don't have to pause and do mental gymnastics every single time we speak, we need to compare these two paths side by side.
We need to build robust near mental models. We need to train the basal ganglia to recognize the difference between an action and a description instantly, using everyday, highly relatable topics.
Let's do it. Topic number 1. Let's talk about food and routines. This is a universally discussed topic every single day.
If you want to ask about the mechanical, physical activity of consuming food, that is undeniably an action. You use path A. Did you eat lunch? Did you cook dinner?
But a lot of learners get totally stuck here because they treat the biological feeling of needing food as an action. They feel their stomach rumble and they'll say, "Did you hungry?" But hungry isn't an activity you perform.
No, it's a biological state of being. It's a description of your body's status.
Therefore, it belongs strictly on path B. You must ask, were you hungry? Let's put them side by side to hear the difference. Action. Did you eat lunch?
Description. Were you hungry?
Notice the cognitive shift. Let's try topic number 2. Daily habits and places. Let's use the gym as an example.
The physical movement of traveling from your house to a location is an action. Path A. Did you go to the gym? Did you drive to the office?
But if you are simply confirming someone's static location where they existed in physical space at a given time, that is a description. Path B.
Were you at the gym? Were you in the meeting?
Side by side again.
Yeah.
Action. Did you go to the gym?
Description. Were you at the gym?
It's all about what specific data you're requesting. Are you asking about the journey or the location? Let's do topic number 3. Sleep and personal energy.
The neurological, biological process of sleeping is an action. Path A. Did you sleep well? Did you wake up early?
But the physical feeling that results from that process or lack of it is a state of being. Path B. Were you tired? Were you exhausted?
Side by side. Action. Did you sleep well?
Description. Were you tired?
Now, let's take all of these isolated side-by-side mental models and integrate them into a longer, much more natural conversational flow. We are going to perform a mini role play of a very typical Monday morning weekend catch-up conversation.
What happens every Monday?
everywhere. If you are listening, I want you to change how you listen right now. Do not just listen to the plot of the story. Listen specifically to the structural architecture. Listen to how we seamlessly bounce back and forth between path A and path B without ever mixing the enemies.
I'll start. Hey, how was your weekend?
It was great. I was really busy, though.
Oh, really? What did you do?
Well, on Saturday, I went to the beach.
Nice. Was the weather good?
Yes, it was sunny, but the water was freezing.
Did you swim?
No, I didn't. I just walked along the sand.
Were you with your family?
No, I wasn't. I was with some friends.
Did you eat anywhere good?
Yes, we did. We ate at that new seafood place.
Was it expensive?
It was a bit pricey, yeah.
Did you stay out late?
No, we didn't. We came home pretty early.
Why? Were you guys tired?
Yes, we were absolutely exhausted.
Okay, let's break down what just happened in that conversation, because that seamless exchange is the ultimate goal of spoken fluency.
What's truly fascinating here is why that conversation flows like water. It isn't because we deployed highly advanced SAT-level vocabulary. Beach, swim, friends, tired. These are foundational words.
Very simple words.
It flows perfectly because, unconsciously, the speakers are rapidly sorting the recycling. They are choosing the correct path action or description a millisecond before they vocalize the thought.
Exactly. Let's trace it. When I wanted to know about the environmental state, I chose path B. Was the weather good? When I wanted to know about a physical activity, I chose path A. Did you swim? When I wanted to know about a location or companion, path B. Were you with your family? When I wanted to know about a routine action, path A. Did you stay out late?
There was no "did you tired" or "were you swim." The modal enemies never crossed paths, and because they never clashed, the listener's auditory parser didn't have to work hard to decode the meaning. No emergency brakes were pulled. The conversation felt utterly effortless.
But we know that knowing this logic, understanding the paths intellectually, is really only half the battle. The other half is actually getting the words out of your mouth in a real-life, high-stakes situation without that familiar boardroom panic setting in.
Which brings us to a critically important segment of our deep dive: spoken English coaching and the psychology of overcoming the fear of speaking.
I talk to so many incredibly intelligent learners who tell me, I understand the rules when I read them on a page. I get 100% on the grammar quizzes. But when a native speaker looks at me and expects an answer, I just freeze because I'm terrified of making a mistake.
I hear that every day.
They say, I feel like my grammar has to be 100% perfect or people will judge my intelligence.
This is such a pervasive and damaging mental block. It is perfectionism paralyzing progress. Let me offer a neurological reframe here. You do not need to sound perfect to say this well. Let me repeat that for everyone listening. You do not need to sound perfect to say this well. Your goal in spoken English is not to achieve a flawless score on an invisible grammar test.
Not at all.
Your goal is clarity. Your goal is human connection.
Yes. Native speakers make grammatical slips all the time when they speak quickly. They start a sentence, change their mind halfway through, and end on a different tense. The difference is they don't stop the conversation to apologize for it.
Exactly. They just keep moving.
They don't let the emergency brake lock. They just keep the flow going.
Precisely. The reason the did versus was where distinction is so vitally important isn't about being a pedantic grammar perfectionist. It's about maintaining that connection. Mixing them up, creating that enemy clash, genuinely confuses the listener's brain for a second. It disrupts the transfer of ideas.
It causes a speed bump.
Right. By mastering these two simple paths, you remove the friction. You don't need perfect pronunciation of every vowel, and you don't need a massive vocabulary. You just need to choose the right path so the listener can easily follow you.
So how do we get to the point where choosing that path is automatic? Where we don't have to visualize a recycling bin every time we speak? Because understanding this deep dive intellectually isn't enough. You can nod your head along with us in your car right now, but if you don't train your biomechanics, your mouth go, nothing will change when you step into the real world.
Exactly. Listening to us is a passive activity. Speaking is a complex motor skill, like playing the piano. To bridge the gap from passive understanding to active fluency, you must engage in a technique called shadowing.
Shadowing is incredibly powerful. Let me explain what it is. Shadowing is essentially being our immediate echo. It means listening to a short, natural phrase we say, and then repeating it out loud a split second later, trying to match the rhythm, the speed, the intonation, and the stress of our voices as closely as humanly possible.
It is literal physical training for your articulatory muscles, your tongue, your lips, your jaw, your vocal cords. When you shadow, you are bypassing the analytical translation part of your brain entirely.
You aren't doing math anymore.
No, you aren't thinking subject plus did plus verb base. You are just feeling the physical rhythm of, I didn't go. Were you there? Yes, I did. You are training Broca's area in your brain to execute a motor sequence automatically.
You're building procedural memory, muscle memory, just like a musician practicing a scale until their fingers do it without thinking, or a tennis player practicing a swing. You repeat the structure until your mouth knows exactly how to make the shape without your brain having to write out the instruction manual first.
If you shadow these chunks consistently, the next time someone asks you about your weekend, your mouth will automatically produce, I was tired, instead of I did tired simply because I was tired, is the physical rhythm your muscles have practiced.
And to help you build that vital muscle memory, to turn today's theoretical knowledge into permanent, unshakable fluency, we have designed a structured practice plan for you.
We call it the 7-Day Speaking Challenge because fluency isn't a switch you flip after an hour-long deep dive. It is a biological adaptation built through small, consistent exposures over time.
We are going to enthusiastically walk you through this blueprint right now. I want you to grab a pen or open the Notes app on your phone because this is your literal roadmap to never mixing up did and was again.
Here is the psychological progression of the challenge. Day 1 is today. Your task for day 1 is simple exposure. Just listen. Listen to this deep dive once all the way through, purely for the overall meaning. Absorb the logic of the recycling bins, the do support history, the 2 paths, and the grammar thief.
Right. Don't worry about taking furious notes yet.
Exactly. Just grasp the big picture concept. Let it marinate.
Then we move to day 2. On day 2, you're going to replay this audio, but this time you are actively hunting for treasure. I want you to write down 8 useful natural chunks that we used, not single vocabulary words, but short, complete phrases.
Things like, I didn't go out, or were you tired, or yes, I did.
Yes, write them down on a physical piece of paper. These 8 phrases are your practice tools for the week.
Now for day 3. This is where the biomechanical work begins. Take those 8 chunks you wrote down and shadow them. Say them out loud, but here is the psychological trick. Do it while you are doing a daily, mindless physical chore.
Yes. This is my favorite part. Do the dishes, fold the laundry, walk the dog, and just say the phrases out loud to yourself. Were you busy? I didn't see him. Was it cold? By attaching the speaking practice to an automatic physical movement, you actually distract the anxious, over-analytical part of your prefrontal cortex that usually worries about grammar.
It links the English structure to an everyday, stress-free reality.
Exactly. Now, day 4 is a step up in cognitive demand. Now, you must produce the language yourself without a script. Your task is to talk about a past weekend, any weekend, real or imagined, for 2 straight minutes entirely out loud without looking at any notes.
2 minutes can feel like an eternity when you are doing it alone. Just narrate what you did, the actions and how you felt, the descriptions. I went to the store, it was very crowded, I didn't buy much, I was annoyed. Force yourself to actively, consciously choose path A or path B with every single new thought you generate.
Day 5 requires a bit of vulnerability. You are going to do the exact same thing, talk about a past event, but this time, you are going to record a voice note of yourself on your phone.
Oh, I know. Everyone absolutely hates the sound of their own voice. It's universally uncomfortable. But it is such an undeniably powerful tool for self-correction.
It is essential. Record yourself for just 1 minute, then listen back. But do not listen to judge your accent or your tone. Listen specifically for structural hesitation points. Where did you pause?
Did you accidentally let the enemies clash? Did you say did you was? Noticing your own fossilized mistakes in real time, hearing yourself make them, is the fastest neurological way to eradicate them.
Day 6 is about testing your true conceptual understanding. On day 6, your challenge is the Feynman technique. Retell the rules of did versus was and were to an imaginary friend out loud using simpler English than we use today.
If you can teach a concept simply, you have truly mastered it. Explain the 2 bins. Explain the grammar thief. If you find yourself getting confused or stuttering while trying to explain it, you know exactly which part of the deep dive you need to go back and review.
And finally, day 7, the culmination of the week. Your task is to hold a mini conversation with yourself, or a practice partner if you have a brave one, using the exact chunks you learned this week. Role play the weekend Veach conversation we modeled earlier, Play both parts. Make the rhythm feel completely, effortlessly natural in your own mouth.
If you commit to the 7-day blueprint, the logic of did versus was error will successfully migrate from your slow intellectual memory into your fast automatic procedural memory. It will cease to be a rule you remember, and it will become a reflex you just do.
And to kickstart that challenge right now, we have a very specific piece of listener homework for you, straight from our source material. Before you do anything else today, before you check your next email, I want you to write down 2 sentences about your day yesterday.
It's very simple. One sentence must use did or didn't to describe a physical action you took. The second sentence must use was or were to describe a feeling you had or a location you were in.
So an example would be, I didn't eat breakfast. I was in a massive rush. Write them down, say them out loud, and prove to your own brain that you can confidently separate the paths.
Because that is the ultimate victory we are aiming for here. You now possess the simple, undeniable structural logic of the language. You are no longer guessing in the dark, hoping the words stick together.
We have permanently locked the recycling bins. Path A is solely for actions, ruled fiercely by the placeholder boss did and the grammar thief. Path B is solely for descriptions, states of biological being, and physical locations, ruled by the be verbs was and were. They are mortal enemies. They never ever mix.
You have the logic, you understand the history of why it works this way, and now, with the shadowing techniques and the 7-day challenge, you have the practical tools to practice speaking without that paralyzing fear. You have a proven system to build that crucial muscle memory.
It's been a massive shift in perspective today. And if this deep dive helped untangle your English today, if it finally gave you that aha moment about why you've been freezing up, please make sure to subscribe to English on Mic and leave a like so we can bring you more in-depth analysis just like this. We want to keep giving you the exact tools you need to speak confidently and own your voice in any room.
As we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over as you go about the rest of your day. The next time you are watching a movie in English or listening to a highly fluent native speaker talking quickly, I want you to completely change how you listen.
Change how you listen.
Yes. Do not listen for the big, complicated, impressive vocabulary words. Instead, focus your attention entirely on the tiny structural words. Listen for the dids, the wases, the wars, the didn'ts. Watch how they act as the invisible, weight-bearing hinges of the entire conversation.
Hinges of the conversation. I love that.
You'll quickly realize that true spoken fluency isn't about knowing fancy, obscure vocabulary. It's just the steady, confident rhythm of choosing the right, simple path over and over again.